In one of my recent tweets, I stated that I'm just as relaxed right now while being down 60% with my altcoin portfolio as when I was when I entered those positions. And the primary question of that is how do I keep my sanity while seeing my portfolio continuing to fall or when the markets are entirely collapsing? And as stated in the tweet, this basically comes down to managing your expectations, your emotions, your plan, and your discipline. And discipline is kind of a weird word, but it's a lot with executing your entire plan. And the funny thing is that I've never been as exposed to Web3 in this sense before in my life, which means that the amount of exposure I have to Web3 or to crypto or to those tokens haven't been as much at this point in my life until date, which means that I'm betting more on it than just my altcoin portfolio. And of course, on YouTube, I'm showing my altcoin portfolio, but just a little sort of reminder is that I decided to turn my life upside down 3 years ago, where I basically ran my trading group since 2018. We started at the Amsterdam Stock Exchange. We've been running it for 5 years. Then Esme joined the entire team, and we decided to basically redesign the businesses that we were running. And we concluded that 18 months ago, we didn't want to continue doing the trading company or the trading group. And then we switched to the consultancy and the venture capital and starting our own podcast and improving our YouTube channel, which basically means that after doing it for multiple years, you need to double down again and start over with new enterprises and investing a lot of money into those companies, which then we decided to build more companies, which then also meant that I had to invest more personal money into it. Otherwise, you can't really get any return out of it. And then you might want to think that the altcoin portfolio is my full bet on the markets, but in the meantime, we've invested a lot of money into the venture arm, into the startup investing, which is into early stage startup, probably the most trickiest bet to do, into tokens and founders that currently do not have a token live yet. And that has been quite risky in that sense that my bet on this at this point on Web3 hasn't been bigger as before, and yet I'm not feeling stressed at all. Perhaps I'm just very stubborn. That could be possible as well, but I do assume that in the past few years, I've been already having the conclusion that we were going to have a longer cycle than a 4-year cycle and that we were going to get rid of it because it's just not a recipe of making actual money. And I suspected that there were a lot of macroeconomic factors coming into play, which are coming into play, which are changing the dynamics of the markets in the sense that a lot of Web3 people were thinking that the Web3 market were moving based on Web3, but actually Web2 comes in and it starts to move like Web2 because Web2 is way bigger and it starts to become reality for a lot of Web3 participants. In that sense, frustration and anger comes from having wrong expectations. If your expectations are that you need to 10x your portfolio in the next 4 months, based on the fact that in the history the markets were peaking in that period, then if you're going to build your portfolio based on time, then I think you're going to make a lot of mistakes yourself. And then you're probably very frustrated that the markets haven't been moving the way that you wanted it to be. But ultimately, you're not controlling the markets, but you can control your portfolio. And that's why I decided to base my portfolio on price assumptions and rebalancing structures instead of time assumptions, because time assumptions are just not working out. And I'm very clear on where I'm going to be selling my assets. I've made my plan and I've decided on how I'm going to do it. I had the ability to rebalance and to increase my positions and double the size of the tokens with a very simple trick through which that if the markets return back to neutral, I'm going to be back in profits quite fastly. And I think that you can make a plan, but it ultimately comes down to having the right execution. And if you can't have the right execution, your plan is just basically false in the first place. So I just found myself in a position that I am executing the plan quite fastly, quite well, and I'm actually finding something in the meantime that is going to be enabling me to be patient. So if I'm going to do well, and if I'm doing well, and if you are having a regular job and you're just investing some money into altcoins and you're down a little bit, I think you just should stop crying. You still have a job. You didn't bet everything on the altcoin markets. The worst outcome is you lose that money. You still have your regular life, but you were able to learn a lot. And I think you should be using this time to improve yourself, to learn, to adjust your strategy, to keep developing the skills for you to unlock how to manage your portfolio. And if you do it in a proper way, then you can do it in a proper way in the coming 30 years as well. So ultimately, it is about staying in the game. And if you're going to have one good year where you have an altcoin return that is maybe a few 100% or more, then you're outperforming any S&P investor, as that is the average return of 8%. So don't use leverage, and that is how you can stay cool during these crashes. Rebalance your portfolio based on price assumptions, get rid of time assumption-based portfolio management, and you'll be fine. I'll see you again tomorrow. Ciao. During these markets, I'm always looking for opportunities to build my portfolio, and OKX is bringing you an opportunity. They are the first fully licensed exchange in Europe with the lowest fees. And to help you a little bit with your portfolio and to celebrate this milestone, they are giving away up to 50 euros in Bitcoin if you sign up today on the exchange. Signing up can be done within 5 minutes, and if you deposit 100 euros worth of crypto, you'll receive the first 20 euros in Bitcoin. Start rebuilding your portfolio today. Go to the link in the description or scan the QR code and enjoy up to 50 euro in Bitcoin.